don't tell people what you know.
Right.
Keep them poor. But, unfortunately, the poor will always be amongst us because it starts up here. It's in their words, and the words become flesh. But when they say, I can't afford it or I can't do that, they become what they say.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 327. Hope you're amazing, as always. Hope life is treating you good. And do you know what? I'm going to give you a date today. I haven't actually done that in a while, and I think it's important because of today's topic. You know what I mean? So we are actually on the 20th. I'm going to give you Wednesday, the 20th of October, 2021. So if you're listening to this from the future, man, what's going on? What's happening in the future? Because I'm really, really curious. You know what I mean? And the world's still wild, but not everywhere in the world's wild. Do you know what I mean? And some countries are fine, open. I'm just about to visit the UK, my homeland, which I haven't been to in quite a while. And guess what? Everyone just seems to be doing life over there. Then you've got craziness going on in Australia, madness going on in the US, and some other countries are just carrying on with life. And do you know what? There's some things I love about this right now, and there's some things I really, I wouldn't want to use the word hate, but I'm not into it, right? For one, it's caused a lot of people pain. It's caused a lot of stress. It's caused a lot of deaths. It's caused a lot of sicknesses. It's caused, this whole last couple of years, it's caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, right? And with money, especially, right? Especially with money, and that affects your health, obviously. So the other side of it is, I also love what's going on. I really do. I love the chaos. I love the change, because confusion is what's happening in the world because we're unknowing. But do you know what happens? Do you know what the steps are? Well, you have confusion. And that's where most people stay. They're confused about what the truth is. They're confused about what they should do next in life. They're confused about everything. And we all kind of are, right? But then the other side of it is the next stage is once you're confused, it leads to clarity, because you have to get clear. And that's what I love about what's going on. You've seen so many people leaving their jobs, not because they're forced to, because they want to. And they've looked at other ways to create income streams, whether that's probably online in some capacity, right? So it's probably digital in some capacity, whether it's investing, trading, or it's launching an online brand, becoming a coach, whatever it is. People have transitioned into another stage of their life. So guess what they're not doing? Yeah, they're not going back to work. And I used air quotes there. Not that you can see it, but I used them. And that's what's happening. So we're seeing this huge shift in what people really want. I mean, at the end of the day, someone who's doing a standard 9-to-5 job, not getting paid a massive amount of money, but working their ass off, it's taken all of their hours, of happiness and time with family just to pay the bills, just to survive. Well, they probably found an alternative way to do that. Do you know what I mean? They probably have, or are attempting, or want to, or driving towards it, right? They're on a mission to create that freedom. And that's beautiful. It's beautiful because the truth is there are no rules to life. It's only the rules that have been put on us from society. And I'm not talking about countries. I'm not talking about politics. I have no interest or knowledge about politics. I really don't. So I'm definitely not going down that way. But the other side of it is to me, it's about becoming the best version of you. Living the life that you choose to. And in this world right now, guess what? Well, it's money. Money makes you have freedom. There's two choices, right? You build wealth, or an income stream, or you live really poor and simple. And none of those are wrong and none of those are right. It's just a personal choice. And what you got to understand is, around this whole situation, the rich are still getting very, very rich. More rich than they've ever been. Do you know what I mean? We've got 30 new billionaires just appeared. I think it's globally, but yeah, it's going to be globally. But 30 new billionaires, and it's from crypto. Think about that. Now, irrelevant your opinion of crypto, there's 30 new billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires. What the heck is that? Where have they appeared from? Right? This is new money that's coming through because it's new ideas. And guess what? The old monetary system's a strange thing because it wasn't designed for everybody. It's not designed for the average person. It's not designed for people in society to feel free and successful and buy what they want. No, it's a game. It's a game, and the game is control. This is not conspiracy. Not going down that path. It's just the truth, man. That's why and if you follow the money, and that's the trick, right? Follow the money everywhere till you find where it comes from. And again, this is all about controlling who gets money. That's it. That's really, really it. And when you start to understand that, then a certain responsibility comes onto us. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, I'm old now, you know what I mean? But when we were growing up, it's back in the day, before the internet, there was no knowledge. For you old people out there like myself, I'm 43 by the way. So if you remember back in the day, the only way you could get actual knowledge or information was from the library, from TV and the news, which is so scary, or encyclopedias. You know what I mean? People would come knocking on your door. Do you want to buy some encyclopedias? This is the new edition. Yeah, but the new edition's like knowledge from it's well outdated. But that's where people got the knowledge. And now what's the deal, right? You can find anything online. Any knowledge that you choose to learn. There's so many Harvard courses and MIT courses that you can take even for free online. Do you know what I mean? So the knowledge is out there. Entrepreneurialism, role models, sales. None of these things were available to the average person, or they wouldn't even think about that as a possibility. But now it's just there. So there becomes no excuse for ambition, drive. And now I'm not talking about, this is the other distinction I want to make, right? Everyone talks about in the entrepreneurial space about scaling, making 10 figures, 8 figures, $1 billion, multimillionaires, right? But at the end of the day, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Who cares that you've got $1 billion if you're just keeping it? Who cares if you've got multi-millions of dollars coming in a year if you're just keeping it? Who cares, right? Well, they do, but the rest of the world doesn't. At the end of the day, it doesn't make them any happier in the slightest, right? Whole conversation for a different time, but we have a pleasureometer, and that is not happiness, right? And when you start to understand the distinction, then you can be rich and happy and poor and happy. You could be putting money in the bank and not rich, but happy. You could, all of those things, and very, very sad. So what is this really about? It's alignment and clarity. And here's a key statement I love to say. I love to say this. How do you want to experience your life? I'll say it again. Have a think about this one. How do you want to experience your life? Now, for some of you out there who are all about the bling, hey, nothing wrong with the bling. Bling, bling, I love it too. But at the end of the day, if that's what you want and that is in alignment with you, then okay, get it, right? If that means something to you and it's important, then do it. It's fine, it's no big deal. It's good if that makes you happy, right? But at the end of the day, and I've said the end of the day quite a few times, haven't I? Yeah, I get it. At the end of the day, you just got to be aligned to what you want. You can earn $1 million, and that's great. Is how do you want to experience earning that $1 million? You could be working 18-hour days. You could be selling crack rocks to kids, right? Whatever it is, there's many bad and good ways to get it. But at the end of the day, I said it again. One more time, it's the last time for this episode. Last time. It's driving me crazy too. But think about this. If you just wanted to live in a tent and you were completely self-sufficient, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing, right? But all of these things require a certain level of money. So that's what today's episode's about. Taking care and responsibility for being money literate, right? Not illiterate, literate, meaning you understand money. And it is an important thing, and it's never been more important right now to pull your socks up, as they say in the UK. You can tell I'm getting ready for the UK. But pull your socks up, take responsibility and ownership over your life, your business, your income, right? The people that are around you, your routines, your discipline, your drive, your passion, your motivation, the reason how you can get over the past. You get the idea? So when we take responsibility over our life, then it means we have to take responsibility over our finances, whatever they are and whatever you want to do. When we can do that, that creates freedom. Do you understand this? It creates freedom. Freedom to do whatever you want, including working 18-hour days. But it creates freedom. And it's very, very sad that people don't even have a couple of $1,000 or even $5,000 sitting in their account for emergencies or support or whatever it is, or just to have money sitting in your bank. It's really, really sad. And when people are going to Mars or space and the most of the world is hurting, it's very, very confusing to me. You know what I mean? Sort Earth out before bouncing to Mars. Although it's cool that you're trying to go to Mars. I actually have an Occupy limited edition Mars t-shirt from Elon. Actually, I've got 4 of them. I ordered too many. But my point is, it's about extreme ownership. And maybe you've heard that episode before, Extreme Ownership. I did a breakdown of Guy Ritchie, the guy who did Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, The Gentleman. You get it, right? Absolute badass. I'm just having a quick look to see if I can see. There you go. It's actually episode 309. Go and check that one out because it's cool. Go and check that episode out, Extreme Ownership. Extreme Life Ownership, Guy Ritchie, episode 309. You're going to love it because that's what life has to be about. Because we can lean out or we can lean in, right? Leaning out means that we allow everybody else outside of us, country, society, the chaos in the world to affect us, to own us. Or we can own it by leaning into what we want to create in the world, leaning into what we want to do and how we want to experience our own lives. There is no rules. Success is happiness. Success is waking up every day and just loving life. However you do that, right? We all have this innate pull inside of us to do something. Well, entrepreneurs do anyway, and if you listen to this, then you're going to have that pull inside of you to grow, to see what's next, to see what's possible, right? To move away from the situation you're in and move into something new. Now, most of the world's scared of that, but we embrace that. We take action. We do something different. And because of that, we can have freedom. The world is small. Right? It really, really is small. If you've traveled a lot, I've been traveling for 19 years, if you've traveled a lot, you see how small the world is. Living in New Zealand, I flew back to the UK and you're back in a day. It's not exactly a big deal, is it? Is it tiring? Sure. But is it far? No, it's a day. What else are you doing? And so when the world is small and we understand that we're all connected and we're all, as a human species, going through some wild things right now, whether you believe that there's so much control behind this from people, or you just believe whatever you believe, it doesn't even matter. Because that's an external focus on something that isn't going to help you in your life. Does that make sense? And if you can help you, then why wouldn't you do that first? Even if it's for your family, even if it's for a legacy, make sure it's how you want to experience your life. Because I tell you something, it goes fast. It goes fast. One of the reasons I'm going back to the UK, well, the only reason I'm going back to the UK is to see aging family and old school friends, and my niece and stuff, But listen, I'm in control of that. And I want you to be in control of your life and your future and your business. It's actually important to me. The reason I'm on earth is to have a voice. Now, you might have this stupid accent voice, but at least I've got a voice. And I'm going to be speaking more and more and more. To be able to share this message, to be able to share the ownership, to be able to engineer your mind, brain, and business. And that's what's happening. We've got some amazing things coming up. But I really hope, as we jump into today's episode, I went on an immediate rant. But for you long-term listeners, hey, you know what I'm like. And I hopefully that got through and helped. And speaking of helping, are you ready? Are you ready to help yourself? I hope so, because we are getting ready over here to launch some awesome stuff. If you are a trader, crypto, forex, stocks, I have the Genius Trader Club coming out. And yeah, final touches are happening. I record the webinar next week. It's on, and you're going to absolutely love it. It's going to change your life forever. What else we got? We got a incredible mastermind coming out with Ryan Alford from the Radcast. That is going to be mind-blowing because he's one of the top marketers in the world. He's worked with the NFL, Verizon, everyone you can imagine. And I and him are going to be sorting your brain and business out, your brain and brand. So that's coming up. What else we got? Well, lots of cool things. Lots of cool things. But those are the two main things. And we've also got the re-release. How could I not remember this? The re-release of the most sophisticated mental training system for business and entrepreneurs that exist on the planet. It's called the 8-Figure Thinker Mental Training Academy. And yeah, it's been not available for the past 18 months, 2 years. But guess what? It's so powerful. It's so good. I got asked to bring it back. So that's getting prepared right now and ready for launch. So, hey, I'm looking after you in every way here. So, what else we got? Make sure you're heading over to andymurphy.online. There should be a new website coming up very, very soon with everything as we launch. New website means that you can, right now, why don't you go and get your tools? And there's 2 tools. One, get your mornings dialed in, tune your unconscious mind, and perform like you never thought you even could on a daily basis. 15 minutes, headphones in, I drop you into alpha waves, and then boom, I tune your brain up so you can have the best day every single day. Sound good? Good. That's on firemind.me or andymurphy.online. What else? Make sure you go and learn how to have total mental control in the Total Mental Control Blueprint. Stop that grinding and learn how to switch on flow instead. How? Well, go and get your copy of the book. It's free right now. Before, as I say, we're putting it on Amazon, and you can go and grab it for free. So why don't you do all of that? And why don't you come and hang out with me somewhere? Instagram, yes. Facebook, yes. LinkedIn, yes. TikTok's coming very, very soon, yes. But Andy Murphy Mindset. Come and find me. Okay, that's it, crew. You ready for this? Let's jump in. And it's Robert Kiyosaki. Think you know him, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? It's a brilliant book. If you've not read that book, good Lord, read that book. That's a classic, and it makes you see the world very, very differently. So Robert Kiyosaki and his wisdom of making money. Okay, crew, enjoy this, and I will see you at the end of the show.
Don't tell people what you know. Right. Keep them poor. But unfortunately, the poor will always be amongst us because it starts up here. It's in their words, and the words become flesh. But when they say I can't afford it or I can't do that, they become what they say. And I made so many people. I can't afford it. You think I'm made of money? My PhD dad, he says, what do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that. And my rich dad would say, that's why he's poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because it's an escape. It's an escape. You know what I mean? It's easy to say, I can't afford it. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I can't go to the gym. When you could go to the gym. But no, I can't. Truth is, I'm just too lazy to go to the gym.
I love that opening section, crew. I really, really do. Because what this is about personal responsibility. Go back to what I've just been going on about for a while, right? But we all have time to train. We all have time to go to the gym. Or if you don't have time to go to the gym, you all have time to do push-ups and squats. Push-ups, squats, go for a walk. We all have that time. Do you know how long it takes to do push-ups and squats? About 5 minutes. Telling me you haven't got 5 minutes? We've got 5 minutes. Telling me in that moment we can't make a decision whether to eat that cake or not? Yeah, we can. We can make that decision. And it's the same thing with life. Do you know what I mean? We can become the version of us that we know we're destined to be if we got out of our own way. Or we can make excuses. And what he's talking about there is an actual brain response. And what that means is that as we expand into the unknown, again, if you're a regular listener, you're used to me talking about this, but it's one of my key foundations. So when you step into the unknown, an alarm system goes off in your brain to make sure you are safe. So what happens is one of those things is responses is to run away from danger. So we run away from danger, and that means escapism, right? Escapism from the unknown. And that's what most people do. Whereas an entrepreneur, what do? We're always in the unknown. It's where we live. We swim with the sharks, right? Just pet the sharks. We make friends with the sharks, but we live in the unknown. So if you are in a constant state of push-pull, leaning in, leaning out, constant state of anxiety, constant looking for shiny object syndromes, or shiny objects, I should say, not the syndrome, but the shiny objects and chasing home run hits and golden eggs and same with what's happened with crypto. So many people have made lots of money off crypto, but so many people have lost a lot of money off crypto. Who do you think's made the money off crypto? Yeah, people who study crypto. People who've literally put themselves around high-level networks, understand the game, reading charts, doing backlogging. They understand the game, right? And because they understand the game, that means they can play the game. Plain and simple. And that goes back to that extreme ownership with Guy Ritchie episode I was talking about before. That's what's going on. So we can take responsibility and make different choices and decisions. So my question to you is, what new decision that do you have to make today to become the version of you that you know you truly can be?
A question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. See, when you say I can't afford it, your mind shuts down and you become what you say. But the thing is that we become creatures of our own habits. And until we break the habit, we don't change. Poverty is passed on. It's taught in your families. And middle class is taught in families. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you. Your superego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever. If you're poor, you'll always be poor. Just like most pro athletes, they make millions of dollars, and 65% are bankrupt 5 years later. It's because they come from poor families. Now you tell them that, they get very angry at you. It's the rich fault. You guys ripped me off, and the government ripped me off. But unfortunately, it's passed down genetically.
I don't know your childhood. I don't know your socioeconomic group. I don't know where you're from. But me, personally, I come from extremely blue collar, working class in Liverpool, in the UK. And do you know what? There isn't many choices. And everyone is in scarcity around money. That's how I grew up. It wasn't until I saw money working at certain places until I was like 22. And by 24, I'd left the country and gone to Australia. But think about that. All I was told was, what were my options? And you may be relating to this, you may be not to, right? But options literally when I left school were, one, you can go in the military, the army or the air force. You can go and work in a factory, like a car factory or a glass factory. You can go and get a trade like a joiner or an electrician. Now, is there anything wrong with any of those? No. They're all great if that's what you want to do. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. And we were never told that you could be rich or something else. It was always, these are your options for who you are and your working class. And that's it. So it becomes an identification. And it becomes an identification inside of yourself. It becomes an identification in the conversations. It becomes an identification in the way you're treated. Do you know what I mean? So, and the way you treat each other, including friendships, family, the language that we use. Every word that we say to ourselves creates an emotion inside of us. So if somebody is sitting next to you since you were born and they're stressed about money and they're saying money's this, money's bad, rich people are horrible, they've only become rich because they rip people off. If those words are repeating around your head again and 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 again, you get the idea? Again? Then that builds a really deep foundation inside of your brain, or a pattern that becomes a habit and it becomes automatic. And then the crazy thing is, when we start talking about genetics, these genetics are passed through linearly. It's passed through your family, your grandfather, your grandmother. It's passed right through. They used to think genetics was only what passed on was blue eyes, brown hair, things like that. But it's not true. Traumas passed on. Beliefs are passed on. This is what's hardwired into so many people, which is why they say the rich get richer and the poorer get poorer, right? This is why. So what would happen if you changed the story in your head, the language, the conversations, the network, what you're watching? And it's like, I'm very careful. My girl even laughs at me because I'm so careful of what I put in my head, like what we watch, like even on Netflix or whatever. I'm just so careful because I don't want the wrong energy around me. I don't want the wrong words around me or going into my head. I work so hard to build a different way of thinking, a different way of being, a different way of acting from where I grew up. Do you know what I mean? So you might be there too. So just because we wobble sometimes, right? You might get triggered by something doesn't go right, and then you think the world's gonna self-destruct, and then we go back to where we come from and everything's lost, and all the things and ideas that we said, everyone's gonna think bad about us and put us down. No, they're not. But the truth is, when someone who's very wealthy has a wobble, you don't know why I'm using that word, but you understand what I mean. Do you think they snap back to their default setting? Of course they do, but where's their default setting? Wealth. So they don't ever think about money. It's only when you've come from poverty that your default setting years ago, I've changed mine, but you snap back to that old default setting. Does that make sense? So what happens is we have to create a new set point, a new point that we snap to, right? And that's the new version of us, the real version of us, the world-class you, the 8-figure thinker you. That's the version of you that you have to build inside of you. So when you step out into the world, we're not acting as if, we are being that version of us. Does that make sense? So if we're being that version of us, then we're bulletproof. If we're being that version of us, then we are radical. If we're being that version of us, we are the 8-figure thinker. We are world class. That means we see the world differently. That means we believe different things. We say different things. We hang around with different things. And when the intense and the pressure comes, we respond a different way. Right? Instead of holding ourselves back from thinking you can build a $100 million business. No, we go and see if we can, and we give everything we've got. And that's only by having a mindset by design. And what that means is designing your mindset, designing who you are from the inside out. And when you can do that, that means you're powerful. And power is not ego. It can be, but not where I teach it. Power is authenticity. Power is being real, right? That's power. So ask yourself that question. Ask it. Are you being powerful, or are you allowing your power to be taken away from you?
That's the frightening thing. We've got to change what we teach our kids. So I remember raising my hand when I was 9 years old, talking to my fourth grade teacher, and I said, when am I going to learn about money? She says, the love of money is the root of all evil. We don't teach money at school. I said, why not? And she couldn't answer me, and she got very flustered. She says, go ask your father. He's my boss. So my father was the head of education, PhD, all that stuff. I go home and ask him, I said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and says, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, And he got flustered and he said, look, if you want to learn about money, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? So I asked him. He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. I went, oh. What's the difference? He says the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money, or they're no longer entrepreneurs. And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money, because the government will take care of them, the company will take care of them. Money on one condition, and that condition was he would never pay me. He says the moment I pay you, you think like an employee. He says that's the trap. Entrepreneurs work for free. And now I'm 9 years old, my head's going cracking in half. He says, you never want a paycheck. You understand that, kid? I said, okay, I got it. And he says, well, how do I make money? He says, that's what entrepreneurs figure out. It's like a cat, which comes first, a cat or the cat chasing its tail. And I said, so how do I learn about money? So he would just break out a Monopoly game board. So I would work for free. I'd pick up cigarette butts, and he had hotels and restaurants, and I would clean and do menial tasks. And as I got older, I started getting into office work and marketing and accounting, and I was an apprentice basically, but I always worked for free. He says that the moment you accept the paycheck, your brain goes dead. As long as you're hungry, you'll think.
Crew, did you listen to that last little bit? That was so powerful. The whole thing, that whole section right there was powerful, right? When he started to ask his dad, who he looked up to, who he trusted his view of the world, and started to question it. And the schooling system, the educational system, doesn't teach you about money. Isn't that strange though? It's even like, think about that. Isn't that strange? Because isn't that the point in working? To earn money? But it's not. From a society's business point, their point is the educational system is designed for one reason, to keep you in a job. They don't want you to earn money separately from their system. Why? Because it's a business. And hey, I get it. If I was the Rockefellers too, or the Federal Reserve Bank, I'd want to do the same thing, right? I would want to earn the money, and that would be earned from other people earning it for me. That basic business, right? But if you chunk it up high enough, that is the business. So when we understand that, it's crazy. And then what Robert Kiyosaki said then, he gives it, if you accept a paycheck, your brain will go dead. If you stay hungry, you will think. That's what I want you to be right now. Hungry. And I don't mean hungry as in you need food, although you might. Hungry as in your hunger for your growth, your hunger for the ambition, your hunger to see what's possible, your hunger to make your business work. Your hunger has to come from inside of you, so fierce, so powerful, that you want this thing, right? You want to achieve, you're going to achieve it, you're going to do whatever it takes. And again, we go back to the start. It's not necessarily about money, it's about how you want to experience your life, but it requires effort, time, energy, more than most people were prepared to give. That's why they have a 9-to-5 job. And there's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job. It's all good if that's how you want to experience your life. But by being hungry, it means you think. Why do you have to think? Because we're always solving problems. We're always growing. Nothing is stable. This is the wild thing about business. People look from the outside and just think of businesses growing. And then you look inside of businesses. I work with founders, right? So when you look inside of businesses and we look inside of the chaos that's going on in the management, the communication, the strategies, the systems, the influence, right? That the management team has, or the belief, or the vision of the company. When that's not in alignment with you, you don't have that fire, right? You're not hungry for it, which means no one else is then. So the question you have to ask yourself, right? Are you really hungry to make this business work? Are you really hungry for this next stage in your life? Only you know that.
And he was a great, great teacher. You see, most teachers in school, they're out of ethics. They teach subjects they themselves don't practice. A fake teacher is somebody who just wants a job and they'll teach anything. They teach how to shine shoes if you pay them more money. But they really don't know what they're teaching. For example, my calculus teacher, went to military school in New York, and I asked the teacher, I said, I'm in my 3rd year of calculus now. I said, am I ever going to use this stuff? He goes, no. Said, why do you teach it? He says, because I get paid. I said, do you ever use it? He goes, no. And that's why, you have to, in life, one of the things I suggest to people, you got to find a real teacher versus a fake teacher. And a fake teacher is somebody who doesn't do what they teach. And a real teacher is doing what they teach every day. School systems are making our students weaker. So in school, they have these things called now trigger effects. So you can't, as a teacher, you can't say anything that might upset the student. They don't want anything that might jar their point of view. So if I went into school, I'd be thrown out because I threaten them. And to me, isn't school about opening your eyes and minds to new ideas? But that's now out of the system. So everybody's got to be PC, politically correct now. And it's killing us. It's killing the brains of our kids. They're going backwards. But in their minds, they're more enlightened. If I didn't have ideas that shook me, I wouldn't learn anything new. But now these trigger mechanisms, we're actually making our students weaker in school. My success comes from spirituality, not finance. You see, people say, well, why don't you give the poor money? So the only problem with that is it just creates more poor people. You give a man a fish, you get a lot of people who want more fish, but you teach them to fish. We're more antagonistic, more antisocial. Social media is antisocial. That's the danger part. So the reason I'm speaking on spirituality, we got to evolve. It means meditation, it means yoga, it means praying, it means going to church, whatever it takes. But you got to get back to calm and peace and meditation. One generalized principle is emergence through emergency. So when you look at the word emergency, the base word is emerge. The only way humans evolve is via emergency. And a big one's coming. And it's going to be, as we all know, our banks have ripped us off immensely. They're just a bunch of crooks. I don't know how they can live with themselves. But the bankers rip off trillions and they get bonused in billions. Nobody goes to jail. That's the sickness of our society.
Couple of things there. One, he's talked about meditation. Absolutely. The power of the brain, and meditation is step one as I teach, right? Step two is the visualization aspect, so we know what program that the brain wants to play. Meditation drops us into the correct brain waves, it calms our nervous system, and also helps the brain regenerate, and it's massively, massively important. It also activates and accesses altered states, etc., etc. So the brain is, the meditation and stuff is massively important. That's what he's talking about. Spirituality, whatever you want to call it, right? So the other side of that, he is right about the banks. And again, if I was at that level of being a trillionaire or the Rockefellers or Federal Reserve Banks, I don't know if I'd do the same thing, but it'd be tempting, right? To offer 0.001% as a savings. I was in the bank the other day with my girl, and we were, maybe I mentioned this in the podcast the other week, right? And it blew my mind. I started laughing at the assistant. I started genuinely laughing because they're pulling up, and this is your savings account. You really want to put your money in there? And I went, well, what's the interest rate? They genuinely said 0.001% interest. There is no lower amount that you can go. That's zero. So are the banks looking after you? No. We have to look after ourselves. Now, there's so many investment opportunities out there. If you study them and analyze them and safe ones that you can create millions of dollars over 20, 30, 40 years if you've got time. You know what I mean? Slow and steady, but it wins. Or there's other one, you get the idea, right? But the banks and the monetary system isn't designed to help you. It's not. So you got to help yourself. Plain and simple. And that's why Robert Kiyosaki is so good at sharing this knowledge unapologetically. It's not new. This is just something that's always been for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. This is the way it's been. But things are shifting. Things are changing. So we can be part of that change, or we can still live in the old world. I'm not interested in that. And you're here for a reason. I know you're not too. You're interested in the new world and being new, the new version of you. Power, right? Being powerful. That's who you really are inside. And that means understanding that the old game that they're wanting us to play, it's not worth playing anymore. It's boring, right? We don't get anything from it. And at the end of the day, I said it one more time, right? One more time. At the end of the day, it's your life. You can make any choice that you want to.
So that's why I write about financial education. It's almost like self-defense. It's almost like taking judo against our own government and our own banking systems and Wall Street. People who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad. There's right and there's wrong. There's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right. They only want to be positive. Well, you can't have that. That's not reality. Every time I failed, it was like, good. I said, okay, what have I learned? And the average person, the reason they're poor is they haven't failed. You know, they play it so safe. They haven't made any mistakes like they taught in school. That means they don't learn anything. That's why the school system's actually fundamentally corrupt.
I think that's a huge difference that you brought up there between people who create success, and again, whatever that success is for you, they make mistakes. I've made thousands. I've messed up so bad. And I've been in shit over the other side of the world on my own and stuff. You know, I've been through bankruptcy, I've been through nervous breakdowns, I've been through getting money stolen off me, putting together $100 million project in Fiji. I've been the top performer in 2 different countries in investment real estate. I've also gone through that nervous breakdown, also lost everything, right? Also had to change countries and do this, and slept on couches, been homeless, slept like in your car, in your trunk or your boot, so your car is just full of all your stuff, and you're sleeping on couches, and I've done all that. But you know what it means? It means that I'm bulletproof. It means that you can take everything away from me and give me 24 hours and I will come up with something else. That's just the way this is. Money comes up, money goes down, money comes up again. That's just the way it is. So if you're too scared to try something in case you might fail, come on. Come on. That's the point, because we grow from those lessons, and you don't build muscle inside or out without learning how to build the right muscle and without making mistakes, right? So make mistakes. I remember there was a guy, you might know him. He's actually got the best name ever if you're trying to be in show business, I suppose. His name's Brad Sugars. He's a billionaire. And I remember in a seminar many, many years ago, we're going back, 15, 16, probably 16 years ago. Damn. 16 years ago in New Zealand. And he came on stage and he was like saying, because the reason I'm standing on this stage is because I have made more mistakes than all of you in this audience put together. It's the truth, and you learn from them. It's the only true way that we get growth. So again, what you have to ask yourself, what are you hesitant about doing? And is it because you're afraid of making a mistake and getting it wrong? Or is it, what is the reason? If that is the reason, come on, go for it. It's the only way you can change your life.
It's anti-education. Don't make mistakes and don't ask for help. And if I didn't ask for help, I have my accountants, my attorneys, my bankers, and all that. You know, I go into business like a rugby team. You know, boom, boom, and we kick butt. But the average guy is standing there, I'm an A student, I'm going to do this all on myself, and a bunch of rugby players run you over, and you go, well, they're not playing fair. Yeah, well, you're playing stupid. You should have a team. You should have accountants, attorneys, and bankers, and all that stuff. But that's not the game I want to play. I said, then don't play the game. So what I say to young people is, you find your game.
So crew, what's your game? What's your game? Because if we look back at the previous episode, 326 with David Goggins, you see what discipline is, and you see what addiction is, and you see what mental toughness is. And do you want it? If you don't, it's cool. If you do, go and get it, right? It's that simple. I love the analogy of teams. I love the analogy of everything he said today. And I want you to love it too. But crew, that's the end of episode 327. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from that. And I really hope you share this episode, share my podcast. Come and hang out with me somewhere. Get ready for all the tools and resources that have coming out. And let's do this. Let's do this. Remember to hit the show notes. Remember to go to Andy Murphy Online. Remember to find me on social media, Andy Murphy Mindset. And let's go and kick ass together. And speaking of kicking ass, hope you have an amazing week, and much, much love. And oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.